Well, I'm Pam Brown, and I'm with the Occupy Student Debt Campaign, as well as Strike Debt, which are both initiatives of Occupy Wall Street. A year ago, we started the Occupy Student Debt Campaign, and that was one of the first things really to emerge out of Occupy Wall Street was this issue around student debt. And there have been many groups that have worked with this issue, but the actual one that came out of Occupy Wall Street was Occupy Student Debt Campaign. And we aim to change higher education, not just change the circumstance of students currently with the unbearable $1 trillion worth of debt that's already been accumulated, but actually look at how to correct the system. So over the last year, I think that we've done a great job actually at raising awareness, letting people know that there's a crisis. But there's a lot more work that we need to do in order to really change things.
Well, talk about that. I mean, is this work on Capitol Hill, legislative work?
Well, there's been quite a lot of legislative work already. There's been about 4 bills in Congress over the last 10 years trying to restore bankruptcy protections, which have all failed. There's recently been another bill, the Forgive Student Debt, Student Loan Forgiveness Act, something like this. And basically that bill said you'd pay 10% of your income for 10 years and have up to no greater than $45,000 worth of your debt forgiven at the end of that. And that bill is very unlikely to pass, in spite of having well over 1 million signatures on a petition and a lot of agitation around it, frankly. And then most recently, we had all of the activity around the potential increase from 3.4% to 6.8%. And I actually think that that's the most telling sign for us as to where legislation can go.
These are interest rates on your student loan, which got a lot of attention this summer.
Right. These were interest rates on student loans, but it was actually only one loan out of many types of loans, and it was only for college students, not for graduate students. Now, more and more people, you have to understand, are going to graduate school, so this is important that it only affects college-level students. In fact, there was another part of that legislation which was not mentioned at all really on the news that allowed for interest to accumulate on graduate loans while the student was still in school, which was a reversal, actually. So with one hand, we got the rate to stay at 3.4%, and it's questionable why that's such a win anyway. Why is the government making interest on student loans in the first place? But then on the other hand, we lost, graduate loans are going to go up significantly with the population more and more feeling the necessity of a graduate degree.
Now, how can people with enormous amounts of debt, even if they come together, have power? They still owe a lot of people a lot of money.
Right. Well, we're looking at that, and we're trying to figure out exactly how we will organize this. But one of the ways that we've considered is to organize around specific banks. So you would join the coalition, and then you would say which banks you have debt with. And we would have a sense of how much money people have with which banks. That allows us to move money, that allows us to refuse debt in different ways. That could be really powerful, and we can do this globally.
And what else? It sounded like you had a list.
Right. We have a few other projects. One of the other projects, we've just released a manual. It's called the Debt Resisters Operations Manual. You can find it online at strikedebt.org. And we do have 5,000 hard copies that we've been giving out. And the manual really has both a systemic analysis, but also individual strategies, how to avoid debt, how to deal with it if you are already in debt, what you can do, even with student loan debt. For example, there are programs that you can get into to reduce the amount that you pay on a monthly basis. So on the one hand, we really want to provide people with mutual aid. We want to help people to understand their situation, but also give practical solutions to their day-to-day problem.
It does sound as if it brings to mind a lot, to me anyway, the tax resistance campaign that has been so popular among people who are war resistors and so on. And some people have successfully challenged their taxes around the U.S. wars, but a lot of other people have had the weight of government and law come down on their head with a very negative effect. Will your manual show people where the lines are, what they're risking when they resist to pay that debt?
Well, our manual is really not a legal document in any way. We're not giving legal advice. We're really just simply letting people know what their options are, and then of course they can take those options themselves. But one thing that we don't recommend is individual strategies around refusal. What really needs to happen now is to understand that we are really not living in a democracy, and therefore political solutions are unlikely to be successful, that we need to do something different and to start to together build the institutions that we need to provide mutual aid. If people are in trouble, build perhaps credit reporting agencies, right? Things of this nature. And one of those strategies that we're going to use for that is our Rolling Jubilee, which is going to be a program where you may randomly find yourself with your debts forgiven.
Talk about that one, Rolling Jubilee. People will hear more about it this fall, as I understand.
Right.
What is it exactly?
Well, the Rolling Jubilee is a program that we're initiating where we're going to be buying defaulted debt and forgiving it. And I can't really say much more about it, but look out for it and visit our website, strikedebt.org, and you'll find out more. There will be a telethon on November 11th.
In an economy where we've got half of the jobs paying $34,000 or less, whether you've been to college or not, do you think college is still a good deal?
It's a complicated question. One aspect of it is that as a public, we need an educated society. There are many people who would make the argument that you can't have a democracy without an educated populace. So it's not really about income, that you can't really value education that way. On the other hand, we certainly can't have people graduating into enormous debt without jobs that pay well, pay enough money to pay those debts.